Hello my creative friends, welcome to Rain Francis Art. My name is Rain. Today I'm going to show you how to draw Mr. Spock from Star Trek. And I'm talking about the original Mr. Spock, Leonard Nimoy. Today I'm doing something a little different. I'm not going for realism. I'm sort of taking a minimalist approach. So I hope that you enjoy this video. Let's get to it. I have a reference photo in front of me and the stencil is in the description below if you'd like to download it. Now the first thing I'm going to do is work in the lightest values. So that's my white charcoal pencil here. And here we go. All right. Actually, I'm going to take this one because it's not as fine a tip and I'm using it to cover quite a large area. I like to sharpen my charcoals as little as possible. I have a really great sharpener actually. It's a Derwent brand sharpener. It's this one. It's like this. And I just got stuff all over. There we go. Anyway, it's a Derwent sharpener and it's amazing. Look at the fine tip on this charcoal pencil here. Charcoal is not easy to sharpen. The tips break very easily. So I don't like to sharpen them too often if I don't have to. Turn your pencil once in a while too. I'm applying the white charcoal and everything, every single pencil medium application for me, I do in very small light circles. With the exception of my chalk pencils because they're a little more forgiving. When it comes to blending, that is. Still though, it's a good habit if you're going to be drawing and blending a lot, to just apply everything with small light circles because you can always layer and add more medium. As I say in all of my videos, this is a pet house. My hound dog Jack is snoring very happily in the sunshine right on my recliner by the window. What a life, huh? Not too bad. I'm not a huge fan of Star Trek, but I remember as a kid watching the original series on television. When I was a kid, we didn't have television until I think I was about 8 or 9 years old. We didn't have a television. And one of the first shows that I watched on television was Star Trek, the original series. And there was another one, I'm trying to remember the name of it. Lost in Space. That was another one. I think it was called Lost in Space. And another television show that I remember watching, I just remember that day very clearly. I don't have very clear memories of my childhood. But I remember that day when the television was brought into the house, and it was huge. This was in the 70s. It was a huge television. You know, the old kind that sort of had on either side there were cabinets. It was big, and it was black and white. And we watched TV that whole day. It was a Saturday, and they were showing Star Trek, Lost in Space, and this other one, maybe it was called Land of the Lost. It was a family who somehow found themselves in Jurassic time, and they always had to run away from the T-Rex. I remember that. I loved that show. I should look for it again, if that's what it's called, Land of the Lost. Alright, trying to put in all the white values here, the lightest ones. These are called highlights. The darkest are shadows, and everything in between is a mid-tone. This whole area here, I believe. Yeah, this is all very light. And then we've got just a little spot on his nose here. Okay, let me take a look. Yep, that's it for the white charcoal. So now we're going to use a chalk pencil. This brand is called Real Slate. And I'm going to apply the first mid-tone. This is the lightest mid-tone. I'm using 5 values today for this charcoal drawing. Values are shades, I suppose, of black and white. If you look at your color wheel, if you have a color wheel, it shows you the values of the grayscale colors. You've got white at one end, which is the highlight, the highest value, the lightest value. At the other end you've got black, which is the darkest value, shadow. And in between, I believe there are 8 shades or 8 values of gray that make up the midtones. And even though this is a white chalk pencil, it acts as a mid-tone because you can see the difference between the white charcoal and the white chalk. The white chalk almost looks gray next to the white charcoal. I am not a big fan of this brand of chalk pencil, Real Slate. I bought these. They came in a pack of 4. I got them on Amazon. I don't know, maybe a year ago. And I use them, but I noticed that the tips get very dull and waxy, and I'm always having to sharpen them. Like, I'm feeling it's getting dull and waxy right now because it's hard to apply. So I have all 4 of these sharpened and ready to go. I'm not using too much of the white chalk for this drawing, so I'm probably not going to have to stop and sharpen them, but it's kind of annoying, and I don't know if that's a characteristic of all chalk pencils or just this brand, but I've ordered some more, and it's the brand that I really like, Generals, but I don't know why they're taking forever to arrive. I ordered them last month and they're supposed to arrive this month. So I've been waiting already 3 weeks for 2 chalk pencils. I don't know where they're coming from. Maybe they're coming from outer space. That's why it's taking so long. I'm funny, huh? I've seen all of the Star Trek movies, but again, like I said, only the ones that were related to the original cast. And I remember getting emotional when Spock died. Was it the second movie? I was like, no, not Mr. Spock. That's too illogical for my thinking. But of course, they found him. And in the 4th movie, I think it was the 4th movie, I don't remember the names, it was funny because I know it came out in the 80s because I was in high school, I think, when I saw it, or just after high school. And they ended up on Earth during the present time, which was the 80s, I guess. And it was pretty funny. I think there was a scene when they were in a bus and someone had a ghetto blaster going, and I don't know. I don't really remember it too much, but I should watch those again. They were pretty good. The original cast, I know that there's a lot of controversy out there. Who's better, Captain Kirk or Captain Picard, or I don't know the other ones. I never watched any of the other ones, but I say the original Captain Kirk is the best. William Shatner, with his halting way of speaking. Plus, he's Canadian. I always like to support my fellow Canadians. Okay, so let's just make sure I got everything here. There's a little bit here. So as you can see, I hardly applied any of the white chalk, but this is the 4th pencil I've gone through just for these few areas because it became so dull. I can't wait for my new ones to come in. Now I'm going to take my HB pencil and fill in the last bit of the lighter midtones. And what I'm doing here at the same time is covering the outline of white that I made. It's always really good to have your reference photo right in front of you as you're doing this, because you can sort of, check on it once in a while to make sure that you're getting the right values. It took me quite a while to learn how to draw well using my reference photo. I didn't have the coordination for a long time. Or maybe, I don't know if it's coordination, but it was more like I couldn't stop what I was doing and look and say, okay, the bottom of his hand is a little lighter than this area, so I think I need an HB instead of a 6B. It really took me a long time to build that kind of, I don't know, creative muscle memory. But once I had it, it all kind of, it makes sense to me now. I guess that's what learning is all about. You're not going to get everything immediately. I have met people in my life who, if they can't get something immediately, they give it up and feel that it's completely not worth their time because they can't figure it out immediately. They just don't have the patience at all to learn something new and take the time to learn it. And I think that's kind of sad. I blame the internet. I really do, though. Oh, I just wanted to mention something. On the stencil, I forgot to include his hairline, which is about here, I guess, something like that. So I'm sorry about that. You'll have to add that manually. So yes, as I was saying, I blame the internet. I blame the internet for a lot of things. People are in a instant gratification mode because of the ease of getting information and contacting people through texting, and you know, cell phones are with us all the time. I have a cell phone and I use it for many things. For Instagram, that's one thing that I use it for, to connect with people on Instagram. But I also use it for when I'm going out, because I live in a rural area, and if my car breaks down somewhere on the way to town, there's no phone booths, and I would likely have to walk a very, very long time to get help. Because another thing about this area, which I love, is there aren't many people here. Now, I just saw a few little spots that I had forgotten. The white chalk. There's two little round parts here and one round part here. Okay, so I'm going to continue with the HB. Yeah, so I was saying I live in a rural area, and having a cell phone is very necessary. Also when I take my dogs for a walk. We have coyotes around here, or coyotes, as they are sometimes pronounced. And it's always good to have a cell phone when I'm walking them in the woods and along the fields here. I live right across a road from a commercial blueberry field, and there's a lovely walking trail there. I walk my dogs there every day. and I never see a soul. Well, that's not completely true. I do see people in October and November. I call them the quad people. The weekenders who come up here to their 3-season cottages for hunting season. To each their own, but I am not a hunter. And they use that trail to go deeper into the woods and the fields to do their hunting. So during the fall, I do see more people. They're all very nice. It's just not a lifestyle that I personally want. Actually, there is an area not too far. Actually, when I was walking my dogs during the summer, I saw bear tracks. And I spoke with my neighbor, and he told me that there was an adolescent black bear seen in the area very close. So to be careful when I go out. So having my cell phone is kind of a necessity. I also carry an air horn, and I carry pepper spray because you just never know. So far I've been okay. I've come across mostly deer. And little rabbits and lots of predator birds. One time I came across a lone coyote. He had something in his mouth he had just caught. And I was with the 3 dogs at that point. And, okay, wait, I'm just taking a look here. Okay. I was with 3 of my dogs, and it took a look at us and just took off and ran the other way, which I was very grateful for. But I hear them yipping and howling, and one can make a lot of noise. One coyote can sound like several. But if I was out by myself and there was a pack of coyotes, that I stumbled across, I might be in trouble, so I always have my protection with me. And though I'm not crazy about having a cell phone, I do need one. So that was all to say why I have a cell phone. Alright, there is one little spot here. Alright, so now I'm just going to start a little bit of blending. I'm going to start with the white chalk. And then into the white charcoal. I'm going to try not to touch the HB first. Not first. I'm going to try not to touch the HB yet. These cotton swabs are the best blenders for chalk and dark charcoal. Not so much for white charcoal. See, I can blend a little bit, and I'm not pressing very hard. Circles again. I can blend it, but it doesn't blend as well. Now my cat Oscar is snoring. I know you can hear that because I did a video of me drawing Daffy Duck, and I was kind of giggling a lot because of that. Oscar was making so much noise, and he likes to sleep at the edge of my desk here, so he's very close. And I'm certainly not going to disrupt him for the sake of this video. So I hope it doesn't bother you too much to hear that. I'm guessing he's having happy dreams. Oscar is a rescue cat. All of my pets are rescues. We got him, actually, it's crazy, in 2015. Well, let me start that all over. I had 2 pugs, Winston and Spencer. I got them in 1995, and they stayed with me until Winston passed away in 2011, and Spencer passed away in 2014. Spencer was 19 years old when he passed away. And I was so upset and depressed because I'm such a dog person, you know. So I went to a shelter close by where I used to live. And the first one to be adopted was my husky Charlie. That was in July of 2015. Okay, I'm going to use the same Q-tip and go over the HB areas. So yeah, Charlie was adopted in 2015 in July. And then a month later, Oscar came home in August. And then 2 weeks later, my hound dog Jack came home. And then 2 weeks after that, Marlene came home. That's when I stopped going to the shelter. I can't go to a shelter and not come home with a pet. And if I had all the money in the world, I would take them all. I love animals, and they're just, especially dogs, they're so sweet, and they just want love and affection and food and exercise, and they are so loyal. And they know when you're not feeling well. Just grabbing a new cotton swab here. They know when you're not feeling well, and they come to you. They want to comfort you. They want you to feel good. They have that ESP going on. I love them for that. Okay, I think I've got it all blended here. Make sure your workspace is well covered, or, you know, there's Oscar's at the end of the desk, but he's nowhere near where I'm blowing off this charcoal dust, because black charcoal can get very messy, and you do have to kind of give it a little huff and puff once in a while. Now I'm going to apply the 2B value, which is a little bit darker than the HB. So now we're getting into the darker shadow mid-tones. Let me see here. This whole area under here is all 2B, but I'm gonna do that after. When you're working with charcoals, if you're right-handed like I am, you really should be working top to bottom, left to right, so it doesn't get so messy. But I work all over the place. I'm going to switch between the 2B and the 6B right now for the small parts so that I don't forget anything. So this area here is much darker. For me, this is the black, the shadow. This is no longer a mid-tone. I'm going to tell you what I'm using each time. So I'm back to the 2B. There are some spots on his head that are just a little, slightly bit lighter than black, but all of his head is black. Mr. Spock has plastic-like looking hair. I almost called him Dr. Spock. A very different person, as most mothers know. Okay, so this whole area here is 2B as well. I said as mothers know, I'm not a mother, I'm a fur mother. Again, it may not look like it, but I am working in tiny little circles and sometimes large ovals. And at this point, I'm covering up all of my outlines again. Alright, is this all? Yes, this is all 2B right here. There's some more 2B up here. Just this little area. And under his nose. This whole part here of his lip. And his chin. There's a little spot here. Okay. I believe I got everything. Now I'm just going to go in and fill in this whole area here. Even though I'm not a huge fan of the more modern Star Trek stuff, I am a space movie fan, that's for sure. When I was doing my introduction to my John Travolta video, I mentioned that I had a great memory of my grandfather bringing my friend and I to the theater to see the movie Grease. And that was in 1978, I think. I was 10 years old. And he did the same thing a few years earlier when Star Trek came out. Not Star Trek, Star Wars. He drove me and my best friend to the theater. And we waited in such a long line. It was in the summer and it was hot. Back in the 70s, you know, there were lots of lineups. Lots and lots of lineups to see movies. But we got in and we saw it, and it was spectacular. There was nothing like it, you know? I've seen all of the Star Wars movies. Again, not the modern ones. I would say the original 3. I saw some of the new ones that came out. Was it in the 90s or the 2000s? I don't know. But I'm a fan of the first 3 that came out. Okay, I think I got all of the 2B. Now I'm gonna work in all of the 6B. His hand is done for now. It's mostly his hair. And his hair, like I mentioned, is like Ken doll plastic. Very round. No wisps. I had to stop the video just there because my dog Marlene, I don't know her age, but she's quite old and she actually suffers a little bit of dementia, unfortunately, and sometimes she gets a little lost and she starts to pace and she doesn't settle down. There's my cat in the background. And I have to get up and help her settle down, you know, just pet her a little bit and make her feel comfortable, that she's safe, because she doesn't know where she is sometimes, you know. It's sad to see them age. But she was rescued from a very bad situation, in my opinion. She was neglected and locked in a basement for many, many hours of the day. She would break through windows and doors to get out, we were told. And the owner just didn't want her anymore. Clearly the owner probably never wanted her, which is sad. Because we knew who the owner was, actually, and a couple of weeks later, she bought herself a puppy. So, Marlene did not belong in that house. But she's here and she's got a lot of love and she's got a pack. She's safe, she has everything she needs, and she's well taken care of. And I'm very happy to have her in my life, even though she's a bit of a handful to take care of. With this 6B pencil, I'm pressing extremely gently because it's a soft pencil and there is a lot of charcoal dust. Alright, little spot here. Okay, I think I got every spot that I needed to. The last bit is all of this and all of this. I'm going to just very gently fill that in. I don't know if it's obvious on camera, but I am not, you can see how I filled in the white here. I haven't filled in the 6B as densely as I have the other ones, the other shades values, because the 6B creates the most charcoal dust, and I'll show you what I'll do after. I take a paintbrush and I transfer some of that charcoal dust to other areas, so I don't have to really fill it in completely. I just do little circular shapes, and like I said, it's sparse. Once, you know, I'll do a line here to cover that outline, but not densely applied. Okay, so we've got all that done. I'm going to grab a paintbrush and I'll show you what I do. Well, there we go. There is a lot of dust on there. I probably even applied too much. The brush works very well with the very, very soft tips, like 6B and 8B. I don't own any 8B. I think that's kind of overkill when it comes to charcoal. Again, that's just my opinion. All right, now I'm being very careful. I don't want to mix up the values too much. This is just a dollar store paintbrush. I bought a set for, I don't know, $2 or something. And I use them, this set anyway, exclusively for my charcoal. They work pretty well. Now, I have a lot of dust. I'm going to try to just take it off this way first, because I don't want it to get all over my desk. Right, I'm going to do the same thing down here. Try to take off as much as possible before I give it a little blow. I feel like I'm kind of sweeping here. And there's a little bit up here too. Put it all in one spot like I'm sweeping up. Okay, so now I'm just gonna give it a little huff and puff. There. I I saved my desk a big mess here. Alright. Now I'm going to grab another cotton swab and I'm going to go over all of the other areas where I applied 2B. And the smaller areas where I applied the 6B. And I'm going to try to blend all that together as much as possible. And I'm going very, very lightly. I do go through quite a few cotton swabs when I'm doing the dark black stuff, because you may find that as you're using them, if they get too filled with the medium, they could start damaging your paper. So turn them often, and wiping it off doesn't really do much. It'll break the cotton part and you can use it a little bit more, but you'll feel it when it's stopping being functional. And I'm going to go over the whole area that I used the paintbrush on, just to make sure it's well blended. And at the same time, I'm kind of covering up some of those outlined lines and softening up the edges there. Okay. Now I'm going to grab a blending stump and go over the white areas to blend them in a little better, just so they're not so glaringly white. And as with everything else, I blend in circles quite lightly. If you start blending really hard, you can damage your paper and it just doesn't look good. If your paper's damaged, it's going to be hard to put more layers on if you need to. Blending stumps and tortillons. These are tortillons. Are the best blenders for white charcoal. Again, in my opinion. You can see the difference between what I've blended and not. I mean, I used the cotton swab there for the first round of blending, but it doesn't, you can still see the circle marks. So I always prefer to go over the white charcoal again with the blending stump, or for the tiny little areas, the tortillon blender. Tortillon. And now what I'm doing between this chalk area and this white charcoal, I'm kind of going and trying to blend them so there's not a big obvious line in between. And you may, I've said that I blend in circles, but when I'm at the edges, I do lines. Because I don't mind if it's straight. But if I start doing this, there's a chance that you'll be able to see all the lines and it won't look nice. I have two sets of blending tools, one for white charcoal and one for dark charcoal, black charcoal. I don't like when the black gets on the white tools, but what can you do? Just try to wipe them off as you go. Okay, so all the white's blended. We're going to do a little bit of detail now. Now he looks pretty good right now, but I'm going to add a little bit of white to make some of his features a little bit more obvious. But I mentioned that I'm not going for realism here. 6B. And if I don't like it, I can always put black charcoal around it, right? This is the mole on the side of his nose. Just highlighting around his nostrils a little. This is his mouth. Right. Now I'm going to grab, let's see, I'll grab a cotton swab and just go over the white parts very lightly. Do we like this? I'm not sure I like that, so I'm going to get rid of this side of his eyeball and kind of bring that dust a little bit over here so that it's in the background. That looks much better. I've still got a little bit of dark charcoal here on the cotton swab, so I'm going to bring it over there. Everywhere that I added white, I'm going to grab some of the dark charcoal and bring it over here to lighten it up a bit. Lighten it up to darken up the light areas. Okay. Okay. I think we're good here. I'm going to grab my paintbrush again and just go over all the black areas. Make sure it's nicely blended. I like doing these minimalist types of drawings once in a while, because it challenges me not to be a perfectionist. That's a little problem I have. If I can't get it perfectly right, I'm my own worst critic. What can I say? I think everybody's kind of like that. So I'm going over everything now, just softening up everything. And there you have it, Mr. Spock. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, would you please like and subscribe? And leave me a comment. If you've decided to follow this tutorial and you've drawn Mr. Spock, please let me know. I'd love to see it. And why don't you stop by my blog? Check it out. Every Thursday, I have a themed art date at rainfrancisart.com. And we've got some participants, and it's fun. You can showcase your art, and you join in the link party, and people come visit you, and you get to meet people, and you get to see how they interpret themes. This one I actually did for, my gosh, what was the theme? Oh yes, it was ditches and holes. And I try to get a portrait in every week. And how do you make a portrait for the theme of ditches and holes? Well, I looked up black holes, and I know there were some episodes of Star Trek where they mentioned black holes or the black planet or a significant something or another. I forget what the term was. So I figured, okay, well, maybe I'll draw either Captain Kirk or I'll draw Mr. Spock. So I decided on Mr. Spock to do this one. So that's how I interpreted the theme. If you have ideas and you want to look at the list of themes that I have for the entire year and you want to join in one Thursday, be my guest. I'd love to see your art. So that's it for now, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.